It is estimated that millions of Longhorn cattle are farmed in Africa and America using distinct techniques. Thus, what are the differences in the farming practices of these two regions? Cattle of the Longhorn breed are distinguished by their long, curving horns. The horns of these animals can develop to a length of up to 8 feet. Depending on the locale, there are a number of different species of Longhorn cattle. However, the Ankole Watusi Longhorn, which is native to Africa, and the Texas Longhorn, which is native to the United States, are the two most prevalent types. The origin of Longhorn cattle may be traced back to Africa, where they have been bred consistently for thousands of years. Not only did indigenous communities make use of them as a source of sustenance, but they also utilized them as important objects in ceremonies and trades. Over the course of time, Longhorn cattle were able to successfully adapt to the difficult climatic conditions that prevailed across the vast lands that comprised the United States of America. This occurred in the 16th century. Longhorn cattle were first brought to the United States of America in the 1800s and grown on farms. After experiencing a severe loss in the 20th century as a result of crossbreeding with other high-yielding cattle breeds, Longhorn cattle began to see a resurgence during the end of the 20th century and the beginning of the 21st century. This was largely due to the attention of small farmers and aficionados of this breed. The raising of Longhorn cattle in the United States is distinguished from normal livestock husbandry by a number of distinctive traits. Longhorn cattle farms are typically located in western and southern states, such as Texas, Oklahoma, and New Mexico. These states have a climate that is hot and dry, and they have natural grasslands that are ideal for this breed of cattle. Longhorn cattle are able to adapt to dry environments, and they require less care than other breeds of cattle. There is a significant difference in the way the farm is organized. It is common practice to let Longhorn cattle range freely throughout huge fields, as opposed to the more common practice of restricting them to small pens like conventional livestock. In most cases, the farms are rather big, encompassing hundreds or even thousands of acres, and they are surrounded by fenced areas to prevent the cattle from wandering off. All of the cows are free to walk around and feed on the natural grasses. In addition, these Longhorn cattle ranches are committed to preserving the natural characteristics that are characteristic of the breed. Because of their resiliency and capacity to endure extreme environments, they do not require extensive care routines to be carried out. To me, this is one of the aspects of this breed that I appreciate the most. Grass and other natural plants are the principal sources of nutrition for Longhorn cattle. They are permitted to graze unrestricted during the warm months. Farmers supplement their nutrition by supplying hay or silage to their animals during the winter months when the temperature drops. How do you feel about this particular way of farming? Please don't be shy about expressing your opinions in the comments section. Cattle of the American Longhorn breed have reproductive features that are highly distinctive. In most cases, they reach sexual maturity between the ages of 2 and 3 years old. However, this age might change based on the care and nourishment that they receive. It takes between 280 and 290 days for Longhorn cattle to go through the gestation stage. Longhorn cattle typically only have one calf at each time they give birth. Nevertheless, it is possible for them to have twins on occasion, but this is quite uncommon. A number of instances have occurred in which 2 calves shared a single body. The newborn calf weighs between 30 and 40 kilograms on average, and they become tremendously large in a very short amount of time. If it is properly nourished, a calf can acquire between half a kilogram and 1 kilogram per day throughout its first 6 months of life. The calf will continue to grow after it has been weaned, but the pace of growth may slow down a little bit. By the time it is approximately 1 year old, the calf will weigh somewhere between 200 and 300 kilograms. Longhorn cattle are not only well liked in the United States of America, but they are also rather plentiful in Africa. Countries such as Kenya, Tanzania, and Uganda, as well as the western sections of the continent, are the places where this breed is raised among the people. Even though this breed is raised in both Africa and the United States for its meat and milk, the farming practices in Africa are very different from those in the United States, particularly with regard to the scale of operations, living conditions, and care practices. Many tiny farming communities in Africa are responsible for the raising of Longhorn cattle. These communities tend to adhere to more traditional farming practices. For the most part, these cattle are permitted to graze freely on expansive grasslands, where they are able to locate their own sources of food and water. In comparison to the United States, the nutrition of Longhorn cattle in Africa is made with less contemporary machinery intervention. This is due to the fact that the economic constraints in Africa do not permit such intervention. All of the natural grasses and roughage that are fed to cattle in Africa, including hay, tree trunks, and leaves, are the primary sources of nutrition for these animals. The average height of an African Longhorn cattle is approximately 4 to 4.50 feet, and their weight can range anywhere from 800 to 1,200 pounds. In terms of appearance and size, African Longhorn cattle are typically smaller. Their horns are shorter, but they are thicker and stronger than those of other animals, which helps them adapt to tough terrain and protect them from predators. They have a longer lifetime and a more predictable reproductive cycle, despite the fact that their reproductive rate is slower than that of other species. Longhorn cattle play a unique part in the traditional ceremonies of the community in Africa, particularly among tribes like as the Messi. This is another significant difference between the two continents. The importance of cattle extends beyond their role as a source of food. They also have economic, social, and cultural significance. The rank and wealth of each family is reflected in the practice of exchanging cattle, which is an essential component of communal rituals and key occasions. Longhorn beef is a source of food that is extremely high in nutrients. Yet, the quality of the meat produced by American and African Longhorn cattle is very different. This is primarily due to the farming procedures and living conditions of the two types of cattle. It is common practice to complement American Longhorn beef for its tenderness and the inherent sweetness it possesses. Better management of farming methods, the use of high-quality grass on expansive pastures, and the addition of extra feed when it is required are the means by which this objective is accomplished. Considering that the meat from this breed is low in fat, has a lower cholesterol content, and can be easily prepared in a wide variety of meals, it is an excellent choice for the healthy eating trends that are prevalent today. The African Longhorn meat, in particular the Ankole Wusi breed, has a more robust flavor, but it is also more difficult to chew and more chewy than other beef varieties. As a result of the fact that cattle in Africa are often allowed to roam freely and forage for their food, which includes dry grass, leaves, and tree trunks, their diet does not include the same amount of nutrients as the diets they consume in the United States. African beef, on the other hand, is an excellent source of both protein and iron, making it an excellent choice for diets that call for an increase in energy. It is likely that the color and texture are the most significant differences. The beef from the United States is bright red and tender, but the beef from Africa is darker and chewier. In the event that you favor American beef, please leave a number 1, and if you favor African beef, please leave a 0. As a result of its widespread application as fertilizer in the United States, cow manure is an essential component in the process of integrating crop cultivation and livestock husbandry. States such as Texas, Nebraska, Iowa, and Kansas are examples of states that are common for this paradigm when it comes to farms. Cow dung is either composted or processed after it has been collected from farms in order to provide organic fertilizer that is rich in several nutrients. Not only is this fertilizer utilized for fields that are growing maize, wheat, or soybeans, but it also enhances the fertility of the soil, which in turn increases crop yields without the need for an excessive amount of chemical application. Not only does this assist in lowering the cost of industrial fertilizers, but it also helps conserve the environment by reducing the amount of waste produced from animals. The exploitation of cow dung is extremely beneficial to the economic performance of farms. It is possible for farmers to drastically cut their expenditures on chemical fertilizers while simultaneously increasing crop output, thus establishing a source of revenue that is sustainable. Additionally, some farms even sell organic fertilizer to the market, which results in additional money for the agriculture industry.